Welcome back, everyone. We're continuing our deep dive into Mulla Sadra's Transcendent Wisdom, the Hikmat Mutalia. That's right, 17th century giant. And as we've sort of set up, his whole world really turns on this one core idea, Wujud, the existence itself. Yeah, existence. And last time we landed on this fascinating point that the language used to talk about existence is existence itself. It's fundamental.
It really is. Now, before we jump into what might be, well, one of the most intriguing paradoxes in his thought, we should probably mention something important.
Okay.
This discussion, it's based on translations, interpretations, really, of conversations with key Iranian philosophers like Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani.
Great.
So, translating these deep concepts isn't always perfect. Some nuances might get a bit lost, so we just want to acknowledge that up front. Apologies for any discrepancies there.
Absolutely. Good point. So today's puzzle, it's a classic, right? This tension at the heart of the spiritual journey.
Yeah, this famous saying, he who knows his self knows his Lord. Okay, self-knowledge, that's step one. That's the way in. The starting point, definitely.
But then Mulla Sadra's path, his mystical approach, it demands fanā'r, annihilation. Annihilation of the self to reach the absolute.
And there it is, the big question.
Yeah. If I have to annihilate myself, if I destroy me, who's left? Who actually does the knowing? Who meets God? It feels like a complete contradiction.
It really does on the surface. Build yourself up just to tear yourself down. But what's fascinating, and typically Sadra, is that within his system, it's actually not a contradiction at all.
Okay, so how does he resolve that? Where do we start?
We have to look at the kind of self we're being asked to annihilate. It's not just the self in general. Sadra talks about the anania, ego, basically.
The ego, right. And the sources, they suggest we don't just have one fixati, do we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Human identity is, well, it's constantly in flux. We're sort of a different self moment to moment, even though there's this thread, this continuity from birth to death. But the real philosophical tripwire here, the danger, is distinguishing between two kinds of selfhood.
Ah, is this the one that is versus the one that, wants to be?
You've got it. There's the real self, the identity that genuinely exists right here, right now, your actual being.
Okay.
And then there's the other one, the self constructed out of, hopes, dreams, fears, the image we project, the person we wish we were.
The curated self, almost.
That's a great way to put it. When we frame ourselves purely through those desires, that self becomes, well, a false self, a fake self, as the sources sometimes put it.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the sources say most people are kind of stuck there, projecting what they want to be, not what they are.
Precisely. And this connects, fascinatingly, to language itself. Think about the word person.
Okay.
In European languages, person traces back to persona, Latin, meaning a mask, a veil.
A mask? Wow.
Yeah. So humans often wear this mask, right?
Okay.
Hiding their true existing self and showing the world this projected image, this performance. That act of being masked, that's the anania, the selfhood that's obstructive, dangerous, even on the path to knowledge.
So wait, the ego, the anania, it's not just like an obstacle. It's fundamentally dishonest. It's a kind of lie about who we are.
From Sadra's perspective, yeah, it's an inauthentic mode of existence. The people really in trouble, philosophically speaking, are those who just refuse to accept who they are right now. They're always chasing the illusion, the projection, and missing the reality they already possess.
Okay, so that's the self we need to deal with. The false, constructed, masked self. The instruction is still fanā'r, annihilate it. But if existence itself, Wujud, can't be destroyed, what does annihilation mean here?
This is the absolute key. No existence is ever truly annihilated. Wujud cannot become atom non-existence. It's metaphysically impossible in his system.
Right.
So the fanā'r Sadra requires isn't physical destruction. It's not wiping out your being. It's an epistemological annihilation.
Epistemological, meaning to do with knowledge.
Exactly. Fanā'r maʿrifatī, the annihilation of knowledge, or rather a certain kind of knowledge.
Okay, hang on. Annihilating knowledge. That sounds counterproductive for someone seeking wisdom. How does destroying knowledge help?
It's about destroying the knowledge or the belief in the reality of the limit. See, the individual human self is what Sadra calls muqayyad. It's limited, conditioned. It's bound by a limit, a code.
Limit, okay. Like our specific circumstances, our ego. Yeah, all the things that make us this specific person and not another. Now, Sadra lays down this core rational principle.
Okay.
No limited thing, muqayyad, can even make sense. It can't have any reality without the absolute mutlaq that it depends on. So the limit only exists because of the unlimited reality behind it. Like a shape needs space to exist in.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But The mistake we make, the fundamental error, is we grant originality asalat, authenticity to the limit itself, to the cade.
Ah, so we think the shape is the real thing, forgetting the space.
Exactly. We think the boundary of our ego, our desires, our specific form, that's the primary reality.
Rally.
We obsess over the boundary, the quaid, and we forget the boundless absolute, the mutlaq, that the boundary is just, well, floating on top of.
So we mistake the frame for the picture.
Beautifully put. The act of fanāʾ maʿrifatī is the intellectual realization that this limit, this quaid, it's just accidental. It's arid. It has no asalat, no inherent originality or reality of its own.
It's like seeing the mask as a mask. Precisely. You're not destroying the face behind it. You're destroying the belief that the mask is the face. The sources use this poetic image. It's like removing the dust of the bond from the face of the absolute.
Wow. Once you intellectually grasp that the bond, the limit, is artificial, it just dissolves conceptually. Its claim to reality vanishes. And what's left?
Only the absolute.
And the real self, which was never destroyed, now understands its true relationship to the absolute. It knows itself as dependent on and part of that reality. So paradox resolved. No self is destroyed, only the false knowledge of the self-independent reality.
That's quite a resolution. It shifts everything. But, okay, achieving that kind of insight, that deep realization where you strip away belief in your own limits, that must require incredible certainty, real conviction.
Absolutely. Profound certainty. And this is where Sadra connects this deep philosophical quest directly to faith, to Iman, but not just any faith.
Right. He talks about unifying aql, reason, or intellect with Iman, faith. How does he bring those two together? They often seem opposed.
Well, for Sadra, the divine sciences, this kind of deep knowing, they are the essence of true faith. He defines Iman, faith, as qalb,
qalb.
literally the binding of the heart. Faith is the act of committing, of binding your entire existence, symbolized by the heart, to a single object. Total commitment.
Okay, but binding your heart, that sounds risky. Couldn't someone bind their heart passionately, devotedly to, I don't know, an idol, a political cause, money, a delusion?
That's the absolute core risk, and that is precisely why aql, reason, intellect is non-negotiable. It's mandatory.
Ah, so reason guides the binding.
Exactly. Sadra insists true faith must be rational faith, not jahalain faith, ignorant faith. Intellect is the tool, the faculty that ensures the heart binds itself to the most valuable object, the true object, which is
the absolute, the unceasing divine essence.
the mutlaq, not something temporary, base, or false like wealth, fame, power, or even just a limited concept. Intellect discerns the true value.
So without that rational grounding, even someone deeply faithful could, without realizing it, be practicing a kind of polytheism? For sure.
Absolutely. If your heart's ultimate binding, qalb, is to your career or your reputation or even a limited idea about God, you've effectively granted asalat, ultimate reality, to a limit, to a khalid. That's functional polytheism, whatever your stated beliefs. Aql ensures the binding is directed appropriately towards the truly infinite.
That really does set a high bar for the seeker, the salik. And the sources mention he was quite critical of other approaches, didn't he? People who missed this unity.
Oh, definitely. He had little time for, say, the pure debaters, the mutakallimin who just chop logic without lived wisdom,
Right.
or the purely abstract philosophers, they philosophai bati, lost in concepts, detached from reality.
Okay.
And also the ignorant mystics, those who rely on mere takhayul-led imagination, maybe even delusions without that rigorous intellectual grounding.
So all three fail because they separate reason and faith, aqli and iman.
That's the core of it. The true seeker must unify them. They have to use the light of intellect, engaging in tadabbur fi ayat Allah, deep reflection on God's signs in the world and in the self.
And tafakkur fi malakut.
Contemplation in the heavens and the earth, yes. This comprehensive, reason-guided contemplation is what leads to what he calls shari sadr,
The expansion of the chest.
which is a metaphor, really, for the loosening of those bonds of conditioning, the limits falling away. Intellect leads the way to liberation.
This integrated path, this deep knowledge, it leads us to one final, really evocative idea from Sadra about the journey itself. He says that if the salik, the traveler, is aql, is reason, then the ocean of gnosis has no shore. La sahailun?
Isn't that incredible? And what's key here is his understanding of aql, of reason or intellect. It's not just our everyday calculation machine.
It's more than that.
Much more. Our individual intellect is seen as a spark, a limited portion of the universal intellect, the aql. And that universal intellect is itself a mode of divine knowledge.
Ah, so if our guide, reason is fundamentally connected to the infinite.
then the journey guided by it must be infinite, boundless, shoreless. Because the destination, the source, is infinite.
And Akal itself isn't just made by our brains. It's higher.
He places it firmly in the celestial realm, the Malakut. It's not a product of the material world. So yes, our human reason hits conceptual limits, we run out of words, our frameworks break down. But Sadra says the deeper Akal recognizes that boundary.
And keeps going.
And keeps going.
Yeah.
It moves beyond concepts into that shoreless ocean, constantly striving towards the absolute, precisely because its own nature is derived from that boundless source.
So reason isn't just the map, it becomes the ship navigating an endless sea.
That's a perfect way to think about it. And this, by the way, is why Sadra stresses the integrity of the seeker. The sources really hammer this point.
How so?
The Salik has to avoid getting sidetracked by worldly desires, fame, wealth, status, while pursuing wisdom. Because if the heart gets bound, acute kalb, to those temporary limits,
Then reason stops serving the infinite and starts serving the ego again, defending the mass.
exactly, becomes corrupted, used for image management instead of truth-seeking. The journey demands this relentless honesty about where we place asalat, real authenticity. Wow, what a journey indeed. We started with this apparent paradox. Know yourself, but annihilate yourself. And Mulla Sadra just elegantly reframes it. Fanāʼ isn't destroying your being, it's purifying your knowledge. It's about seeing through the illusion of the limit, the qaid, to realize the absolute, the mutlaq. That was always the true reality.
And the guardian of that path is this robust, rational faith. Akal and Iman working together, ensuring our deepest commitment, our heart's binding, is directed towards the infinite, not trapped by the finite. So for you, listening, what does this really mean? Sadra presents reason and faith not as enemies, but as essential partners. Twin guides for this journey across a boundless ocean of knowing. And it leaves us with a really potent question to reflect on, I think. Sadra insists the seeker, the salik, must be Akal, must embody reason. So the question for you is, to what extent do you truly allow pure, unconditioned reason to guide your own pursuits, whether spiritual or intellectual, knowing that if you follow it honestly, rigorously, the journey has no end, it's shoreless, but perhaps more pointedly. Where in your own life right now might you be granting asalat ultimate authenticity to a qayyid, to a limitation, a mask, an illusion, instead of to the boundless reality it rests upon?